Backup recording, Elector Live. New week 3 HRP FT. That referencing, and we call this FT, and we'll call it part 1 because you have 2 classes. Referencing. Save. Okay, start. Just so we record this for those. Some people can't get yet because there's no shuttles from the residents. So yeah, welcome. Thank you so much for coming. I'm not going to raise my voice too much so that we're not spied upon and the door is banging. Today's lecture is to start taking you through referencing. Just before we do that, I want to say thank you. Most of you have sent your Google Forms for me to check. And you'll obviously watch all the videos to catch up, so you won't know what that's about. But once you watch the videos, you will. And yeah, some perfectly right, others just a little mistake here and there, so it's good. So as soon as I said it's okay, you can start. And if the question that was asked is, if there's 2 of you in the group, do you each need to create a Google form? The answer is no, because you can just use one link. Then all your data comes into one Google form. Are you with me? But if you both got one, it's also okay. Then you just got to combine the data afterwards. Okay. So that was a good question. You can have one link if there's 2 of you collecting in one group. You don't each need to do one. So today's purpose is referencing, and there's 2 referencing documents that we mainly look at, which is the quick guide to Harvard and then a more comprehensive one. So let's go to the quick guide to Harvard. Make this nice and big. Now, the quick guide to Harvard was last updated March 2019, whereas there's a new document called the CPUT official guide, which was updated, I think, 2022. They are 99% the same. There are just small differences in some places, like instead of a colon, they have a comma, or yeah. And I will highlight those changes today. So today I'm just going to take you through the theory part of it, of referencing. In other words, it's a formula, you know, how everything is positioned, the surname, the year, the page number. It's a formula. You just need to follow it and learn that formula. Okay. However, the practical side I'm going to show you tomorrow, like some examples and how to go about it. So let's cover the theory part. So this is called Quick Guide to Harvard. Do any of you know, and I'll just take this off the screen, what is the difference between a bibliography and a reference list or a list of references? Do you know? What is the difference? Any idea? Any guesses? No? Are they the same thing, do you think? The answer is they have overlap, but they're not the same thing. At CPUT, what do you think we use? Do we use a bibliography or do we use a reference list? That you can guess. You've got a 50% chance of getting it right. What did you use for your assignments in previous years? A bibliography or a reference list? Reference list. You would be correct. We use a reference list at CPUT. So a bibliography contains all the sources consulted. So you can read 50 sources, but you only in-text reference 20 of them. So you cite 20 of them in your essay. But in a bibliography, you would include all 50 of the sources, not just the 20 sources you cited. Whereas a reference list only includes the sources cited. In other words, the sources that you used. So if you looked at 50 sources and you only used 20 of those sources, there would only be 20 sources in your reference list. So every source that you in-text reference needs to go in your reference list, and every source in your reference list must be in-text referenced. Okay, you got that. So if you look at 50 sources, you use 20, those are the 20 that you include in your reference list. Very, very important. Okay. They just give you a whole lot of common errors which you can go through. I won't go. Now, textual referencing is very easy. So when you take a piece of text from somewhere and you paraphrase that piece of text, or you even just take an idea from that piece of text, you need to in-text reference it. Let's just show you an example of in-text referencing, and I will just take an example from 2023, and I will just go to practical 1, and if I open this example, so your essay will look something similar to this. Oops, go one smaller. So in your reference list, come on down and down. You see it's going to look like this. So you put in the author, the year, make this a bit bigger. There we go. So the author, the year, the page number where applicable. See, not all, and then there, the author, year, and page number. So you took this text or idea from these two sources, and here's another source, and you do multiple in-text referencing. You see, you can have two sources, or you can have, they've only got twos, but you can have, yeah, you can have, you see, you can have 5 sources or 10 sources or 20 sources, one after another. And this is what I want to see. That's called multiple in-text referencing. So you're finding the same information in different sources. And then that makes your information, what you're giving to me, stronger. Okay, you strengthening it because you are proving a point. You say that social media influence has grown rapidly in many years. And here you're given, although not that I said anything about social media influencers, but I said social media has grown. But so all of these sources found the same thing. So you never give me one source, you try and give me multiple sources when you take information from somewhere. Okay, so, and here's again, several studies where the focus were on multiple, social media platforms, and you find other sources that also said that or showed that in their findings. So in-text referencing consists of the author's surnames with no initials. If it's in brackets, and it's an and. If you use it outside of brackets, you write the and in full. If it's in brackets, it's called an ampersand. You give the year and you give the page range for journals. If it's a book, you give the page number it appears on. So this is, so each one of these sources that you in-text reference then needs to be written in the reference list in full with more details, and we will get to that. So let's just head back to this. So in-text referencing, if you, and let's just make this easier and merge the cell. So when you writing something at the end, and all of this is in italics for some reason, let's just take it out. So if they wrote XXX, FFF, GGG, and at the end, now you want to in-text reference them, this is how you do it. You open brackets, you give the author's surname, Ellis and Peters. If it's in brackets, you write the and, abbreviated and. So if it's at the end, comma, you give the year and you give the page number. But when authors' names are not in brackets, so say you want to start the sentence, Ellis and Peter said that, oops, said that, ... Then it's Ellis and this, you write the and in full. When it's outside brackets, you put the year and the page number in brackets, said that. You understand that? Well, there's nothing to understand. That's how it is. If it's all in brackets, you use that ampersand. If you're taking the authors out the brackets, and if there's more than one author, say we have was et al, which means there's more than 3, comma, 2024, And then we have another source. We need Swakala. Let's say and Swakala. No comma there. You see how it works. If there's multiple text references, it goes in chronological order, 2000, 2024, 24, but X becomes before Z. So when they're in the same year, you place these in alphabetical order. Okay, said that. So just take notice when it's outside of brackets. So that's all there is to referencing. And if there's multiple sources here, Ellis and Peter, and say these sources were also included, and so you give multiple sources, Ellis et al., then instead there's a comma there, because et al. We'll get to later. And there's no and then, because it's inside brackets, comma, then it would look like this. If these three people said this, Ellis and Peters, comma dot, causa, et al., before the year, there's always a comma, colon, Zocada, comma. That would be what your multiple in-text references look like. Okay. Make this still bigger. Right. When multiple authors, yes, in chronological order, so 99, 2001, 2001, 2005, and when there are two authors in the same year, then you place it alphabetically. Creswell, 2001, and Dodds, 2000. That's it for in-text referencing. I don't know how people can make any mistakes, because that's how simple it is. It's very, very, very basic. So there's nothing really more I can show you. And here you can just see in this example, if you have multiple references like this, it goes in chronological order. And when there's more than one source in the same year, so it's placed in alphabetical, you see Belanchi, B, H, K, O, they're all in the same year. T, you see, then it got placed alphabetically because it's in the same year. Okay. And yes, so that's in-text referencing done. So now we actually want to go to the reference list. So there's different formats. So if you in-text reference anything here in your text, then it must go in your reference list. Okay. If you in-text reference something 20 times, how many times does it go in your reference list? Do you place it once or do you place it 20 times? You place it once, because even if you have it 20 times, you just want to see what the full source is. Why do we give the references? It's if people want to go and find that source afterwards, you need to give them the information that they can use to find that source. So just remember that if you in-text reference something once or 20 times, it still appears in your reference list once. So let's have a look at common sources. I'm not going to go through all sources, but a book. So a book, you know how to in-text reference. I'm not going to focus on that already. So a book, if there's one author, you give the author's name. So you go Chase, there's always a comma after the surname, the initial J, full stop. That's it. You give the year the book's published. You give the title of the book in italics. You give the city of the book. And if it's in America, often you give the state. So New York, comma, NY. The city, not the country. So you don't say USA. We want the city of the book. And you give who the publisher is. And that's the formula you follow. If there's two books, two people, Ellis and Peter, full stop, there's no comma there, and the authors, Peter's, comma, J, full stop, P, there's no spaces between the initials, full stop, the year, the title of the book, the city, colon, the publisher. If there's multiple authors, take notice, so you give Henderson, RS, full stop. To separate the authors, you put a comma. So you put full stop, comma. Then you go Smith, PG, and then a comma to separate. Then the next one, Rosetta I. But for the second last author, there's no comma. You use a en passant, and, okay? And then King, comma, PG. So that's multiple authors. So there's nothing to understand. That's just how it's done. Okay. Then you say the year and you give the title of the book in italics, where it was published and who the publisher was. And this should be not a comma, but a full stop. Okay. When you reference in the text, when there's 3 or more authors, what do you use in the text? You would say Henderson et al, right? With the full stop, et al. So you'd say Henderson et al, and the page number if there is. So let's just say it's page 43 to 44. And so at the end of a sentence, it would look like this. So if they stated XXX, and then you end in the sentence Henderson et al, comma 1987, and the page numbers. Okay. If you start the sentence, take note of this. It would be Henderson et al. You drop this comma because a comma is just before the year. If it's in brackets, but there's no comma if it's outside of brackets. So it would be Henderson et al, full stop, 1987, 43 stated. If there's more than one author, so say Ellis and Peters was also here, you could say Ellis and Peters, and then that would become a Ellis and Peter. You drop the comma and you put a year and say there's a third source and Duplessis, drop the comma, 1981. Oh, we can't see it because I must. Let's just say it's page 21. Mentioned. You see how it goes then? That's like if it's outside of brackets and if you want to use multiple sources. But so this is what it looks like. And then lastly, if there's an addition, so this is book editors. So in English, a book, let's not look at this. Let's look at this one. Gardner Smith. So these were editors of the book. You go, EDS stands for editors. There actually should be a full stop there. Gardner and Smith, EDS, full stop, the year, the name of the book, where it was published. So everything's the same as a book, except you have an EDS. That's in Afrikaans, but we will ignore that one. It is, if there's an addition, then the addition comes after the title, not in italics. Say it was the second edition, you go second edition, full stop. If it's addition, okay? That's all there is to a book's not too difficult. You'll have some books in your references, but not too many. You're mostly going to have journal articles and maybe theses and internet sources. Okay, and maybe some conference proceedings. You'll also come across a book chapter. So when people present a paper at a conference, they often publish that in a book. So in order to write that up, it's the same. It's the author of the actual chapter that you're going to use. It's the year. It's what's the title of that chapter. Then you say in, and then you give the editor's name. So who was the editor of that overall book? And on the book cover, it usually says editors. And so you'd say EDS, full stop. And then you would give the title of the book, where it was published, who published it, and then you'd say colon, and you'd give the page numbers of this specific chapter in the book. In the new referencing document, they don't use a colon, they use a comma. Okay, either or, I don't mind. Okay, so take notes, and then you just reference it as per normal as surname, author, page numbers. Yeah, that's all there is to books. Okay. Conference papers and book chapters. Conference papers are a bit more complicated, yet for a fourth-year student to get this right. Not even my master students get this right. I can't understand why. It's just a formula, but let me show you nevertheless. You can maybe get it right. So it's the author's name of the conference paper, the year, the title, like a book chapter, the title of the paper that was presented at a conference. Then usually the conference, all the papers at the conference get published either in a book or they get published in what's called the proceedings. So then you'd say Tower of Babel, Franca, proceedings of this conference, right? And that goes in italics because it's published. So when a book is published, it's in italics. When conference proceedings are published, it goes in italics. Italics means it's published. You give where the conference took place, Bloemfontein, comma, the place, South Africa, the date it took place. Then you go full stop and you say, okay, this is published. Who published the proceedings? Well, it was SATI, which is based in Joburg, so it's like a book. And then semicolon, you give the page numbers of this specific paper. So it's very similar to a book chapter, except, and all of this is the same. The only difference is that you tell me where the conference took place and the date it took place. Otherwise, everything else is the same as a book chapter. And that's the formula. You reference it as normal. If the conference paper is delivered but not published, you give the author, the year, the title of the paper, and then you don't put this in italics because it's not published. So you just say paper presented at this conference in this place, Bloemfontein. It's always best to put the country as well, just in case there's another Bloemfontein in the world, and then the date it was published. There won't be page numbers because it's not published. So that's books and conference papers. Okay, government gazette, internet is very, very important. Okay, because you'll be doing a lot of sources. So say you took something off the CPUT website. If you can't find the date anywhere, you would use the term ND, but just take note, there's almost never a document without something that indicates a date. So you should generally not use ND. So if you go to it and you read the article, there may be a year, or if you look at the bottom of the screen, there's a copyright, then you use that as the date. So it's the author's name, CPUT, the actual year. Let's just give this a date because I don't like ND, but I had to show you. The title of the link or the article, the URL. I don't think you should hyperlink it because in both examples they don't hyperlink it. But if you hyperlink it and push enter, then you need to do it for all of them. You can't have some hyperlinked and others not hyperlinked. Okay, so the key to referencing is to be consistent. Okay, so you give the URL and then the date you accessed it. So today is the 20th of February. So you would say 20th of February, the date you access. Why do you give the date? And that's in square brackets, full stop. This is the date it was written, and this is the date, the year it was written, and this was the year it was accessed. Why do you think it's so important to give that date when you accessed it? What happens on the internet? Do things stay online forever? No, things can disappear off the internet. So someone may read this 10 years later, and now they click on this link or they type this link in and it doesn't come up with it. Why? Because they've moved, but then you can see, oh, this was accessed then a long time ago. So it's probable that it's been removed from the internet. Okay, so just don't get confused. You give the author, you give the date, it was the year it was written, you give what it was in italics, the full URL. So if I click on this or cut and paste it, it will take me to the source, and you give the date you accessed it. When you reference it, there's no page numbers for the internet with Cape Peninsula 2022. And here's another example, New Media Publishing, 2005, the date it was written, the title of the article, the full URL. In this case, there wasn't a / and the date you accessed it. So say you accessed it the 30th of January. Let me just show you that there are certain websites like Biz Community that you should not reference ever. Biz Community should never be the author. Why? Because Biz Community is the publisher. They distribute articles that they've received from various sources. So if I go to last night, I made available the case study information for steers. But if I go to these Biz Community articles, let's go to this one. Okay. And I need to add some sources here quickly. We'll just say 8080 as well. Okay. So I've given you the information you need for the sources. So if you read this article, they didn't, if you go to this link, let's just go to this link online. Cut and paste it in. Oh, I made a mistake here. What have I done? Oh, I need to take that. No, I just want this not with a dash. Yes, copy. And we paste this in. Come on. Do they give you an author here? No. Usually they give you an author of this community. But that means that you need to read the actual article to find out who supplied this information. So if you read this article, research from 8080. So are they including information from 8080? Yes. So they could be an author. Go down, never mind that. Then later on it says, they take from a lot of sources, but here they spoke about Militia Reddy, Naiku provided information. And there was another person here. What's his name? Andrew. Let's just see. Yeah, Andrew Fulton says. So sometimes by reading the article, they'll say, this company said. So where did they get the information from? That company. So never use Biz Community as the author. Read the article or see where they took it from as the author. Okay, so please just take note of that. If we go down to other articles, see, so this article actually had an author, Pula Beledi. So, you know, there was an author. This was supplied by IIB South Africa. So I've just given you the authors here. Some of them were supplied by Biz Community and others I had to read the article to find the author. Let's just see if this one supplies the author. Oh, let's just delete that. Let's go back in there. Why are they not finding that? What am I doing wrong? Oh, because I got the whole year. Stop doing that. Let's just delete that. Then I can get it. Okay, paste it in. So you see here, they've actually given an author there, right? So they give it to, but other times you have to read and see. So just take notice, Biz Community, like if you use IOL, Independent Online Newspaper, what are they? Newspapers are all newspaper sites. And eMarketer, that all those sites you don't use because they publish a lot of different articles. So just take note of that, please. Okay, don't save. So that's the internet. It's I've got some examples and things I will show you tomorrow. Interviews won't use now. Journals. This is the thing you're going to use the most. Take note, please. So a journal, you give the author, the year, you give the title of the article, and then you give the title of the journal, and the journal is what's published, so that's in italics. If there's no volume and issue, which is sometimes the case, you just give the page numbers, colon, the page numbers, full stop. Usually there's a volume and issue and date, okay? So you would include the surname, the year, the title, the name of the journal, comma, 7 stands for the volume, 3 is the issue, colon, 12 to 15. This is the most, you can add a DOI number at the end here, but I don't think this is a real source. Let's just see if it is a real source. Let's just go to, I think it's just a fabricated Google Scholar. I think it's just a made up source. Let's just see. Yeah, it's not there, but let's just open this article and let's assume that this is the same article. Then you could, usually it gives you the DOI somewhere, unless this is a book chapter. Yeah, let's not, it's a book chapter, so we won't go there. Let's go here. Yeah, so this one's article, let's just say this was the same article as what we use. There's this thing called the DOI. It's very small, but it's got a DOI and it starts with 10. You can also include the DOI. See, that's what the DOI looks like. But some journals have it, other journals don't have the DOI. So yeah, generally you don't have to include it. You can just include that. Then sometimes they include a season, but I wouldn't worry about that. You just include the author, the title of the article, the name of the journal. This one doesn't have an issue, so you just give the volume, colon, page numbers. Sometimes they give a month, so you could give the month at the end as well. Yeah, electronic journal, you can just have page numbers 1 to 13, and then usually you give the DOI for electronic journal, but all journals you find online now. So yeah, so this is a journal. What does a journal look like? So just to show you an example, where do you find the information? I will show you more examples of everything tomorrow, so you can look through the theory, and then we can do some practical tomorrow. So if we go here and we find some articles I've written, so let's go to this one. So what do you need? So this is what the front page of a journal looks like. So who's the author? I'm the author, so it would be Duffett RG, comma, space, RG, R, full stop, G, full stop. What year was it published? It will tell you year, 2015, full stop. What's the name of the article? Facebook advertising, full stop. What's the name of the journal? Internet research, you would put in italics, comma. What's the volume? 25, open brackets, issue 4, colon, no space, 49528. And if you wanted to include the DOI, you can include the DOI. You see how everything's on that page? Okay, it's all on the first page of a journal. There is a crook way, which I will show you tomorrow. If I just go copy and I go to Google Scholar, I'm jumping the gun a bit for journal articles, and I go search. There it finds the journal article. You click cite. What does it give me? It gives me all this information. You go to Harvard, you copy it. You go to a Word document. Let's just replace this. Paste. So Duffett RG, but you see they add a comma there. So you've got to delete that comma because it's not there. There it's giving you the title. Let's just make this bigger. It's given the title, full stop. All that's right. You need to put internet research in italics, but you've always got to capitalize all the main words of the journal. So it's internet research 25 for all. They've given it to you, colon, you delete there, and there you have your reference. See, so you can use Google Scholar to get your journals, but you've got to double check because sometimes they don't have a volume and issue. So if they were missing some information, what you do is you click on this link. Then it will actually take you to the website where the journal article is. And here they give you all the details. And if you scroll down here, they give you all the information. See, and they give you the full DOI with the HTTPS. So you can just go, if you wanted to include the DOI, you could do so. You could include the DOI. And there's no full stop after the DOI. That's what it would look like. So here's another example. If let's just open here, let's just say you want to cite this article. So here's my name. So it'd be Dufford RG full stop. What year was it published? It was published in, at the bottom, you see it's a footer, 2017, full stop. What's the name of the article? Influence of social media marketing communications on young consumers, full stop. What's the title of the journal? It is called Young Consumers. So never use Emerald or Sage or Taylor and Francis or Elsevier. Those are names of publishers. The journal has a name. So this name is Young Consumers. So remember, you don't include this Emerald Science or whatever, Google Scholar, these are publishers, you don't include it. So Young Consumers, full stop, or comma. Then what's the volume and the issue? Here they give it now. Volume 18, open brackets, issue 1, colon, 19 to 30, full stop, and there's your reference. And there they give the DOI. But a quick way for journals is you can just take this, you can go copy, you can go to Google Scholar. Let's go back here. You copy and paste it, the title of the journal in, paste, you go search. There it finds it, you click cite, and there it gives you the information. You copy the Harvard information. We go back to, let's just use this example. Paste, and there you remember you got to delete that comma. There shouldn't be a comma here, no spaces here. That's all correct. The title of the article, the journal's name is Young Consumers, comma, the volume is 18, the issue is 1. You make this a colon, delete that, and if you want to include the DOI, the best way then is to just click on this link to take you to the actual journal. And if you scroll down, here you find the full DOI here. You'd go copy, and that's it. Are you able to reference a journal, do you think? Yeah, especially if you use Google Scholar. It's going to make it easier for you. But literally, guys, when I mark this, I look at every comma and every full stop, because this formula is being given to you. So if you leave out a full stop or a comma, I'm going to highlight it. Only the first 2-3 references, then I'm going to say there's many mistakes. And if you can reference this here, it's worth 10% of your overall mark, just for referencing, not for knowing anything, just because you can reference. You'll see practical 1, 30% of your mark is for referencing. So you can write the biggest load of rubbish and still get 30% if you reference correctly. Okay? Yeah, well, a lot of students do. They copy and paste, and this and that's got nothing to do with what it's about. But they've referenced beautifully. But don't copy and paste other people's references in. That's where students make a mistake. Because if you do, each reference that's included in, you've got to then include that in your reference list. So people copy and paste things, they don't mess it up. And then I see, oh, you've got 50 references in your in-text referencing, and there's only 20 in your reference list. Then you're going to get 0 for your reference list, because there's not correspondence. It must be full correspondence. So be careful. If you copy other people's references, you also need to include them in your reference list. So that's journals, very simple. Then we'll go newspapers. Not that most of you would reference a newspaper online, then it becomes an internet source. But if there's no author's name anywhere, then you can use a non. But usually, again, if you read the article, you'll find someone they quote in or whatever, if they don't give you the author. So a non won't be used often. The year, the title of the article, who the newspaper was, colon, the page numbers, and the date. You can either have May 11 or you can have 11 May. Either or, that also differs in the other one. You seldom use a non. Theses, you will use this, because you will find theses when you search for journal articles in between. So it's the author, the year, the title of the thesis. For theses, all theses are unpublished. Whether they're online or not, that you always just call it an unpublished thesis. Okay? Unpublished PhD thesis Rhodes University, so you give the university, the town the university is, and also the country. In that new referencing document, it doesn't give you the country, but you should include the country because there could be a Grahamstown in England, and there's a Rhodes University in England. So how do you know which country it's in? So always give the university, the town or city, and then the country, and that's how it is. But take notes, if you go to Google Scholar and you search for thesis, and I wonder, often you could have also a master's thesis, you'll find, or you could also have a bachelor's thesis. Are you with me? But if you go to Google Scholar and you click cite, it often calls it a doctoral thesis, but it's not. So Google Scholar is not good for theses because it often lies to you and says it's a doctoral thesis. And then you open the thesis on the front page, it says bachelor's or master's. So let's just go to an example. If I open one of my master students' theses, let's open, for example, Justin. Thesis to PGO. Okay, he had an interest in study. His study was social media marketing communication tool by the Western Province Super Rugby Club League. So that was interesting. Anyway, let's find thesis. And let's go down to the reference list. Unpublished PhDs. Here's a master thesis. So if we let's make this a bit smaller. If we want to Google Scholar to help us, so this is an unpublished master thesis. You can see how it looks, year, title, unpublished, where, city, country. But if you want Google Scholar to help us, and we go to Google Scholar and we go back here, and we search for this, here it comes up. And if you click cite, you see often when you do this, it doesn't even give you, it's giving you like a funny reference here. Oh, and they're calling this a book, but this was actually a thesis. So, yeah, definitely funny business happening there. Let's find another one. Let's find another thesis. So this is a unpublished master thesis. So let's just put this into Google Scholar, and that's the town in Finland. Let's have a look. Okay, and if I click cite, you see it just gives you the name. It doesn't give you the university. Then you've actually got to click on here to take you in further. And there you go, storytelling. It actually gives you there. It says master thesis. And if you click this, you can get the thesis and then you can get your other information. Sometimes you have to actually look where the university is. So if we go here and you don't know where this university is, they don't tell you it's in Finland, then you just go copy and you just go to Google and you just put that in and you say location. Oops, not vacancies, location. And you go location and then it tells you better known, and there it gives you university, it's in Finland, and there it gives you the town. See, so often to get the missing information, you just use Google, or Google Scholar if it's not on the article you've downloaded. So I'm showing you some shortcuts, but in order to use the shortcuts, you need to know how to reference, because you can't just copy and paste their output, because as I showed you, you need to delete commas and change this and that. So let's close this, close this, close this, and let's close the thesis and go back here. So that's how thesis is. And here you could give the name, the page, the year, and the page numbers you use just like a book. And then, yeah, that's really, if there's, I've already showed you multiple text references. So that's really all there is. Just to show you something, let's just go back to his thesis, Just want to show you, and then I want to go to the other document. So just think, here's his thesis. We'll go to the end. What it's going to look like if you go to further studies. So if you look at his thesis, his reference list starts on page 201. And now you just go down. All references. 201, and it's just zoot, still going. See, all correctly done, all in this format that I've showed you. Starts on page 201, and his reference list finishes on page 240. He's got 40 pages of references. That's like 1,000 sources. But you need to know how to write them up, and each one of these sources that are written in full here needs to be in-text reference. So one day, if you do it, I expect you to have 30 or 40 pages of references alone in your thesis when you get there. So I'm teaching you now how to do it. And the moment you download an article, what should you do? You should write out the reference at the same time. You with me? So it's ready for use. So if you use something from that article, you can just put it in your reference and you put it in the correct format. So you can go to Google Scholar and just get it there and then just change the format. So each article you download, which you need for Practical 1, if you download 30 articles, get that reference list. But just remember for Prac 1, if you include something in your appendix, but you don't in-text reference it, does it go in your reference list? No, because it's only if you in-text reference it that it will go in your references, not if it's in your appendix. Okay, so some people give me 35 sources. You don't in-text, you're not in-text referencing those sources that don't go in your references unless you took something else of that article and used it in your text. Okay, you got that. That's very important. So yeah, 40 pages. And if you're doing a doctorate, you could have 60 pages of references. Okay, so I expect you write in a 2-page essay, I expect at least 2 pages of references, like 40, 50. That's nothing. I've had BTech students, advanced diploma, give me 5 pages of references, and there's only 2 pages of essay. And each one of those needs to be in-text referenced. Because I want to see that you've read and you've extracted it. If you can do this well now, you will have no problem for your PG dip, and you have no problem if you go to masters. But problem is I get students at masters and they still can't reference, and they sat in this class, in my class, where I showed them how to reference, and when I get them after PG dip, then suddenly they can't reference anymore. But they could reference them in this year. So you've got no excuses. This has been recorded. And you've got these documents, and I'm going to give you examples. So the last thing I want to show you, and then tomorrow we will do some practical things, is just the other referencing document, which has some small differences to the other one, but either document is fine. And these are all on Blackboard, but I'll email you all these reference documents as well. But under Blackboard, there's a heading called referencing and all these documents. So yeah. And this is called the CPUT official guide to referencing. So I picked up a few errors with the part-time class last night. It's not perfect, just like in the other one. But, so this was updated in 2023. So yeah, see, they've even got Rampaside. Huh. I had a lot to do with this document, and my name doesn't even go on. I edited this document for them, picked up a lot of mistakes. Anyway, so here you see they give you books, they give you computer programs, conference papers, everything, journal articles, so legislation, maps, podcasts, theses, websites, so they give you everything that the quick guide is short. This is more comprehensive. So let's just go through a few, look for differences. So immediately for books, they tell you it's exactly the same as the other one. Author, year, title, town, and publisher. And then they show you if the in-text reference in Madiba, the year, states, or if it's at the end of the sentence like that, it would be full stop and then XXX. Two authors, they show you. Multiple authors, they show you. Then they show you how to do the et al. Like I've already showed you this. It's exactly the same. Editors, they show you EDS full stop and then how to reference it as the same as a book. Book chapters is exactly the same. The author, the year, the title in the editor, full stop. If there's multiple editors, then it's EDS, the title, where the place was, who published it. See, instead they use a comma here instead of a colon. So that differs from the other one. Book first edition, subsequent, all of that's no problem. Reference list, okay. Ebook, they include the URL of an ebook and the date, but most books are ebooks as well now. So it's not imperative that you include this. You could just reference an ebook as a book, because most books are available online now. All journals are available online, and you don't reference them as e-articles. So that's not imperative, but if you want to include this link, you can. Cancel. Blogs are pretty much like the internet, exactly the same as the internet. So the author, the year, the title. So you can put blog and when it was written in the blog, just in square brackets, blog. But this tells you it's a blog. So in my opinion, these square brackets, it's your choice if you want to include it or not, because this tells me it's a blog, and then the date you accessed it. Multiple authors, so it shows you that multiple authors, if they are in the same year, go alphabetical, and if they're not in the same year, they go chronologically. Computer programs, conference papers, they show you exactly the same thing as I'm showing you, and they even say you can include the link, but I don't think that's imperative. You can just go up until year, like the other one. Conference papers, yeah. What else? Anything different? I just wanted dictionaries, encyclopedias, financial sources, government sources, illustrate journal articles. So it's exactly the same as I've showed you. Year, title of the title of the article, the actual journal itself in italics, comma, volume, issue, page numbers. Okay, this is with two authors. This is with multiple authors. Then they show you the et al. Again, a journal article, two authors in the same year. So they show you this meter. Oh, I didn't show you this. So if you have if you take a journal article and it's two different articles, but it's the same author, like you took two articles I wrote, Dufford 2015, but they're different. When you in-text reference it, when you in-text reference meter 2017 and meter 2017, can you tell the difference? Can you tell that it's two sources, different sources? No, you would think it's the same source. So in order to differentiate this, meter L 2017 is the same up until there, and it's the same. But where it differs is the name of the article. So this article is A Journey, and this article is Resilience Amongst Refugees. So this in the reference list would become first. So it's the order of the reference list that determines that this is going to be 27A and this is going to be 27B, because A becomes before R. Why do you have the A and B? So that in the in-text referencing, this would be 27A, and this would be 2017 B, so that then you can see, okay, B refers to this article and A refers to this article. But it's only when you have the authors that are exactly the same and in the same year that you would then use A and B, and the order it appears in the reference list determines which one is going to be 27A and which one is going to be 27B. So I've got examples to illustrate this, which I'll go through tomorrow. Journal article from, so there you can include the DOI I showed you if you want to. Full stop, the DOI. Okay, electronic, that's you can just do the standard journal reference in legislation, magazines, maps, music stores, newspapers. I've showed you already. Just want to see online videos. So here, if you take a video from YouTube, for example, they say you should say square brackets video, but can we see that it's YouTube? Yes, we can see it's YouTube. So it's not imperative to have this video here in square brackets, but you can, and then the date you accessed it. Also, is there social media somewhere as well? Because you may take things from social media. So here you say you took from CPUT's Facebook page, you'd have the author, the year, the title. Then you could say Facebook and when it was written in square brackets. But again, this is not imperative because you'll see here it is Facebook and you give the full cancel. Let me get off there. You give the full URL and the date you accessed it. So that's how you do social media. Twitter's not Twitter anymore, by the way. X theses. So here you see in this one, they give the author, the year, unpublished doctoral, the place, Wellington, but they didn't give the country. I always suggest give the country because there may be a Cape Peninsula, well, not Cape Peninsula, but there's Wellingtons are in every country, in England, in Australia, New Zealand, there's Wellingtons. So which Wellington? The one in South Africa. And thesis, translation, website. So here's an example of a website, Cornelia J. He's a lecturer or professor at CPUT. You give the year it was published, the title, my free doctoral program, the full URL, and then the date you accessed it, right? Website of a group. Okay, yeah, works of art. Yeah, so you can see it's basically the same as the others. They give a few bit of extra bits there and extra information, but you've got everything you need to reference and in-text reference. You just need to know this formula and follow every comma and every full stop. And you've got Google Scholar to actually help you, like I've showed you. You can cut and paste the title in, you can get it, and then you just adjust it to fit this format. So each source you download, each journal article you download, take the URL, take all the information you need to do the reference, and you do that reference then and there. So that if you use that source, you've got it, so that if you in-text reference, then you can just put that in your reference list. And yeah, I think that's all I'm going to cover. Tomorrow, I'm practically going to go through examples and show you how to reference. Okay. I think it's best if we meet at this office, and please be punctual, because if you come 15 minutes late, you know, I don't think I'm going to open the door, because I would rather, you know, have class with those that are here and not let in someone that's going to chase you out. So, and this video, I will stop recording so long. Let's just quickly go in here. We'll take questions now. Recording has started. Stop recording. Stop.